matter how good you are at breaking up pallets, you're always going to have some that crack and or scrap. I'm burning these up right away. I'm using my clothes washer burn barrel. What's going on, guys? Double wide 6, and you can see it's a lot of work taking apart pallets, but I got a pretty good surplus of wood, and I still have some pallets left over. So we're going to go ahead. I got to make a little shelf for my daughter's room. So this is oak and cherry. So I'm making the shelf, it's going to be 3 foot, and I think that's a pretty good length because my daughter's going to be putting books on this. She has a fair amount, so it needs to be wide enough to hold the books and long enough that it can hold a lot of them. I think this will work. Alright guys, so I'm just laying this thing out and I'm covering up the kind of the light spots on the pallets, and that's because that's the underside of the board that was on the pallet. So I'm actually going to cover those up with these pieces of cherry, and I'm going to tack these down with 1/2-inch brads with a little bit of glue. Well, I'm putting this thing together, and when you work with pallet wood, you can see when I pull this in, I'll show you, got a pretty large gap, about 1/8 an inch on each of these centerpieces, and that's pretty typical with pallet wood. It's warped. So I'm going to take my clamps and I'm going to pull that together and drive some screws in it. So I'm just holding this thing up with my clamps on the bottom here, and I decided I'm going to pre-drill these guys just to make sure I don't split anything. The wood's pretty thin. I know most of you guys are small engine guys on my channel, but I'm going to be putting in these cabinet screws. They have a really small head, about 3/16 of an inch, and it's a square drive. Gives you more of a finished look. You can hardly tell they're in there, and they can be filled. Alright, so I got a pretty thick piece of white oak here, and I've worked out kind of the dimensions that I'd like for some hooks. And I'm just sort of tracing this pattern on here. I got one done, and we'll go and cut this out on the bandsaw. Alright guys, I'm going to show you a little measuring trick. I want to center this in between these like 2 posts. So if I measure across here, it's actually 9 13/16. So figuring out the middle of that is a little bit tough. So what we can do is you take your tape measure, and now I'm starting on the upper left, and we're going to go on an angle from here up until we see exactly 10 lined up with the beam over here. Okay, I'm right at 10, and you can come straight down, get that lined up, right in line with 5, and we're going to put a dot. That is our exact center. So if we take a square and line it up with the dot, that's going to give us our center point for our hook. Alright guys, we got it all done. It's up on the wall and I'm pretty happy with the end results. My daughter went through and figured out what she wanted to put on there. We organized it and it has a nice look. We used white latex paint and a little bit of water, and that lets the grain show through and it looks real good. My original intention was to not paint it, but after I talked to my wife, she said that I should go ahead and paint it. Alright guys, I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up, and if you have any comments, you can include them down below in the description. I'd also like to thank my friends out at Apex Tool Group and Crescent Tools for providing many of the tools I used for today's job. So you can check out links in the description to those, and have a great holiday and a happy new year. Thanks for watching.
My door is locked.